On the day Austin got engaged, I received my medical diagnosis. My phone kept lighting up with Austin's name flashing on the screen. I switched off the notifications. Austin always said that I would only be free of his debt when I died. Well, it seems he would get his wish. I would pay him back in full, all at once. Where are you? I left my ring in the drawer. Hurry up and bring it over. Austin messaged me after I didn't answer his calls. I didn't respond and walked to the small shop next to the hospital. It took some effort to find a pack of White Rabbit creamy candies from the bottom shelf. The winter sun bathed me in its warm glow, and the sweet scent filled my mouth, taking me back to the days in Suntown, when I was a restless sick child. Grandma would pull out 2 candies from the bedside and say, "Karen, have some candy, it will make the pain go away." Clutching the diagnosis in my hand, I looked up at the sun and thought, "Grandma, what should I do? The candy doesn't stop the pain this time. From the moment I left home, my life has been nothing but bitterness. Why is life so bitter, Grandma?" The phone kept ringing relentlessly. I answered, "Karen, where exactly are you? Are you doing this on purpose?" He paused before adding, "You don't still have feelings for me, preventing me from getting married, do you?" The wounds in my heart were ripped open again. If it weren't for Austin's reminder, I would have almost forgotten we once had feelings for each other. "Austin," I called his name calmly, "I'm done. Someone else can bring your ring. I won't be attending your engagement party." I closed my eyes, feeling a brief dizziness. "Wish you a happy marriage. Let's never see each other again." Austin was still saying something on the other end, but I didn't want to listen anymore. I hung up, turned around, and saw Nurse Jane, who had just finished her shift. "What are you doing here?" she asked, forcing a smile that looked rather unpleasant. I smiled. "Waiting for you." To treat the head nurse to a meal. Over the years, frequent visits to the hospital had made Jane and I quite familiar. I watched her get married, have children, and even get promoted. We could certainly be considered friends. I mentioned wanting to eat fried chicken, and she scolded me fiercely. "What junk food for a patient?" I argued for the fried chicken. "You should treat every ingredient equally, okay?" She took me to a private kitchen. Before our meal even arrived, she began to cry. My grandma used to say that even sighing at the dinner table is forbidden. I handed her a tissue to wipe her tears, let alone crying. "It's such bad luck." Annoyed, she snatched the tissue from my hand and demanded my diagnosis. I waved her off with a laugh. "Let's not talk work after hours. I know you're dedicated, and I really admire that." Seeing she was about to lecture me again, I quickly added, "Besides, you know it's all the same, my family, my parents, my little sister, we all have the same genetic disease, no cure. I've watched one family member after another pass away, and now it's my turn." After dinner, I dropped Jane off at her home. "I need to be hospitalized, you know that, right?" She looked at me cautiously as she spoke. I felt a bit sad. I didn't want to see the sorrow in her eyes. "I know, don't worry," I reassured her as I waved and watched her enter her home. "But as long as we're alive, we can't just wait for death. At least I don't want to." I efficiently bought a plane ticket, eager to visit the snowy mountains I had always dreamed of but never had the chance to see. The winter mountains are a scene so beautiful I've praised them even in my dreams. I had to see them before I died, so I could rest in peace. Life is often not as we wish. For instance, before fulfilling a cherished dream, we inevitably run into people we'd rather avoid. "Do you even know how to come back?" Austin's voice cut through a pile of cigarette butts, indicating he had been waiting for a while. "If I'm not mistaken, this is my house." I pocketed my keys, unwilling to let him in. Austin's expression darkened. "Where were you today? Why didn't you bring me the ring?" He stepped closer, forcing me to the edge of the stairs, leaving me no choice but to push him away. "That's not part of my job." I had been Austin's assistant for 2 years, handling everything from major company affairs to his personal trivialities. Austin treated me more like a slave than an assistant, like someone who carried a lifelong debt that could never be repaid. "Yes, your job certainly doesn't include that. Isn't your job all about cunningly dating the boss and then stealing corporate secrets for others?" I stiffened. Austin coldly reached into my bag, took out the keys, and pulled me inside the house. I watched him warily, maintaining a distance. "You got engaged today." Austin clenched his teeth and pulled me close. "The engagement party was called off because someone didn't bring the ring." He whispered in my ear, "Karen, you owe me a little more now. We were too close." My mind was in turmoil. and I could only flusteredly raise my hand to shield myself. Austin, I gritted my teeth, wishing I could bite off a piece of him to vent my anger. He seemed displeased with my reaction and was about to say something when the door was abruptly knocked on. Bang, bang, bang. The urgent knocking in the darkness felt like a death knell, speeding up my heartbeat. I broke free from Austin's grasp and walked to the door, only to be met with a slap as soon as I opened it. Slap. I stood dumbfounded, covering my face, momentarily speechless. Standing opposite me was Austin's fiancée, Zara. Austin lazily got up and, looking displeased, pulled my hand away and said to Zara, "What are you doing?" Zara's face still wore her exquisite makeup, her eyes red as if she had just cried. She pointed at me and asked, "You called off the engagement party just to come here. What does she have that I don't?" I clenched my hands, lacking even the courage to look up. "She's only with you for the money. Have you forgotten what happened back then?" Enough. Austin's face turned cold instantly, and Zara's fire died down. Though her expression remained furious, if looks could kill, I would have been sliced 1,000 times by her glare. Austin took Zara by the arm and led her out the door, then turned and pinched my face to inspect it. "Go put some ice on it. You're already not young. Don't ruin your face further." I shook off his hand, frowning and urging him to leave quickly. Austin looked displeased again, staring at me for a long while before saying, "I'll pick you up for work tomorrow." I kept my head down and replied, "There's no reason for a boss to pick up an employee. I'll be on time for work." Austin was right in saying, I am nothing but a fraud, a master of lies. He gave me a suspicious look before turning to leave. He paused for a long time when closing the door, finally saying, see you tomorrow, but we won't meet tomorrow. If all goes as expected, we might never meet again in our lives." I changed my flight ticket overnight, and only when the plane roared into the sky did I finally feel at ease. Outside the window, darkness enveloped the view, but I could almost see the foreign lands of my dreams, with beautiful fantasies cradled in my mind. I fell asleep and dreamt of a splendid scene filled with fragments of memories, all featuring Austin. "Don't move, I'll draw your portrait." That was Austin from some year past, who loved to sketch me wherever we went. He said that no scenery could compare to me, so he captured me in his paintings at every moment. "Karen, I find this coffee a bit bitter." That was Austin from another forgotten year. I told Austin that my life before was as bitter as coffee. He promised that it wouldn't be bitter anymore, assuring me that I would never have to endure hardship again. "Let's get married after the new year. I'll take the money as a gift for you." I remember that was Austin 2 years ago, on a rare snowy day, as we stood before the floor-to-ceiling window watching the city covered in snow. It felt as if we were the only two people in the world. "Will you marry me?" Tears rolled down my cheeks as I stood countless times in front of that window, telling him, "I do." I blinked, and the figure before me vanished. I opened my eyes to darkness. I was in reality. A reality devoid of light. The person in my dreams was not the person in reality. The past could never be returned to. I found a guest house to stay in, run by a hearty young woman, and we hit it off immediately. "You've made the right choice coming here for a vacation. The mountains are beautiful, and so are the people." Watching her bustling about to settle me in, I suddenly thought of my best friend from my childhood in Suntown. At the approach of death, one often harbors many sorrows, like a sudden desire to return home or to see old friends. But since I was here, I decided to visit the golden mountain bathed in sunlight I hadn't looked up to see for a long time. The owner of the guest house was named Sunny, hence the name Sunny Guest House. She said, "I hope my guests stay sunny and play happily. That's my service motto." She dreamt of expanding Sunny Guest House nationwide. Then, turning to me with her sparkling eyes, she asked, "What about you? What's your wish?" I took her glass, sipped from it, and replied, "I hope all your wishes come true." What is my wish? As a child, I hoped my parents would come home earlier so I could see them more often each year. Later, I hoped to grow up quickly to shoulder the burdens of my family. Then, I hoped the heavens would be kind and not take my only sister away. People say that the divine is always watching from above, but I feel that must be a lie. Otherwise, why has no one ever heard my wishes? Why do my hopes always fail? In the middle of the night, I turned on my phone to find it filled with missed calls from Austin, and my messages on social media had piled up to 99 plus. Even my inbox was filled with Austin's name. I stared at the flickering phone screen as if I were gazing at distant, unreachable stars, visible, yet untouchable. I lay on my side, my fingers hovering over the screen. Sunny, drunk and disoriented, was lying on the other side and asked me, "Don't you want to answer it? Is it someone you don't want to see?" Assessing her level of intoxication, I finally admitted to her, "I want to, but I'm scared to answer it. It's someone I want to see, but can never meet again." Sunny frowned in frustration, as if she had encountered an unsolvable problem. "This is a tough one, I can't help you with it," she said. I patted her back and suggested, "Let's sleep, we'll watch the sunrise tomorrow." It was only when the first light of dawn appeared that I realized I hadn't slept all night. I finally understood how much I cherish life, reluctant to lose even a single day of it. Sunny set the alarm, and in a chaotic rush, dragged me out the door, exclaiming, "I'm never drinking again." I laughed, and she hurriedly explained that she wasn't a drunkard. Still laughing, I found her endearingly vibrant and cute. Before we even took the cable car to see the sunrise, I could already see the golden glow at the mountain's summit. Watching it, I felt a surge of emotions and almost cried. The sunrise was so full of hope. "Anyone who sees the sun illuminate the golden mountain will have good luck," Sunny said. "Even if you don't have a wish, pray for your family's blessing. Maybe a compassionate mountain god will grant it." I closed my eyes like she did, and wished silently, "If there really is a deity above, I hope Austin can be a bit happier, hopefully. It can outweigh the unhappiness I brought him." I bet my life on his happiness. I didn't stay too long at Sunny's guest house. "You're leaving?" Sunny seemed surprised. "There's still so much fun stuff to do here. I could show you around." I wanted to pat her shoulder but hesitated, unwilling to dim such a vibrant spirit. Sunny stepped forward and hugged me tightly. "Next time you come, I'll give you a discount," she promised, thumping her chest. I nodded, saying, "Okay, if there was ever a next time." As I stepped out the door, I couldn't help but look back to see that vibrant girl waving enthusiastically. I didn't tell her that on the mountaintop. I made an extra wish, really hoping hers would come true, wishing she'd always be happy. This time, I bought a ticket home. I thought I should return to my hometown, where, like leaves returning to their roots, I would die in my own bed. But I didn't succeed, as Austin appeared before me. He forcefully took me back and rushed me into the hospital for a full checkup. Afterwards, he spent half the day smoking as he waited for the reports. I sat far away, swearing not to inhale any secondhand smoke. Nurse Jane, exercising her rights as a friend, was angry with me. Bang, bang. I knocked on the table in front of her. "I was only gone for 2 days. Why are you so mad?" She buried her head in her work, ignoring my complaints, bored and at my wit's end. I was about to give up when I heard her calmly say, "You just don't understand." Of course, I didn't understand. How could I if she wouldn't explain? "You all smile at me, say you know, say not to worry, and then the next second you could be dead," she said, her voice breaking and eyes reddening. "Why is it always me, always saying goodbye to good friends?" The hardest thing for me to face was a girl's tears, so I sincerely apologized, admitting I was truly wrong. "I'm about to be hospitalized." Indeed, I was admitted immediately to the VVIP ward, with Austin watching over my every move as I settled in. It felt like everyone who knew about my impending death was far more burdened by it than I was. Trying to lighten the mood in my own way, I asked, "Don't you have work?" This was perhaps the wrong thing to say. It was as if I had lit a fuse in Austin. He turned and glared at me furiously. "Karen, you've deceived me again," he said, hesitating to come closer, as if afraid his smell of smoke would cling to me. "How can you always deceive me like this?" Sitting on the hospital bed, I watched Austin standing by the window. Yes, I had always deceived him. From the very beginning, I had lied to him. I lied about being deeply in love, about being utterly loyal, about being hopelessly devoted. So Austin trusted me, protected me, loved me. Then, when the truth was finally revealed, we both struggled to face such a harsh reality. In front of Austin, I was nothing but a complete fraud. I had nothing to say. "Karen, you really are." Austin tried to say something, but I never heard it because just as I looked up, I saw him crying. In a daze, I felt as if today was my funeral, since everyone I met was in tears. Thus, I harbored the delusion that I was already dead, witnessing nothing but illusions. Then, I made a wish in my heart that after my death, my gravestone should bear the inscription, "No one who comes here is allowed to cry." Austin refused to leave, and there was little I could do about it since my stay in the hospital and the medical expenses depended on him. I had thought about paying for myself, But before I could finish speaking, he silently dismissed the idea. Sometimes I wanted to ask if this would settle everything, all the grievances. No longer pursued, but Austin has been terrifyingly silent lately, so I didn't dare to ask. During the day, Austin would go to work because I repeatedly told him I didn't need someone constantly by my side. He sat by my bed each day, still as a statue. I mentioned that I might die any day now. Enraged, Austin stormed out, slamming the door so loudly it echoed. I ignored him and went back to sleep. When I woke up, there was someone sitting in front of me, in the dimly lit bedroom. His presence seemed sinister, making me feel uneasy. "Long time no see, Karen," he said, causing me to stiffen. If my life were a play, Timo's character would be hard to classify as simply good or evil. To me, he was a savior. When I couldn't afford my sister's medical bills, he appeared and took all my worries away. But to Austin, he must have been a villain. They were half-brothers, sharing the same father. Timo, the illegitimate child, was still Austin's elder brother. Austin's father, Brandon Bennett, in his ambition, had abandoned his young pregnant lover to marry a wealthy and influential woman. After Austin's mother died early, his father, carrying a secret guilt, brought Timo's mother into their home, making Timo the legitimate Bennett's son. Suddenly, Austin's situation became fraught. Timo, having been the bastard child for 20 years, now turned the tables, seeking to completely crush Austin underfoot. So, he approached me, gave me a false identity and a made-up past, telling me all I needed to do was stay by Austin's side, and I obediently did, getting to know and eventually falling in love with Austin. I truly liked Austin. He was so gentle, loved painting, and wanted to open a thrift store selling items people wanted to discard but once cherished. He once held me and said, "Karen, don't leave me." He described himself as a doll abandoned by the world, unloved by anyone. What did I say back then? I said I've always loved you. I said I would love you forever, I would never leave you. Bringing something for the patient is only natural, Timo remarked as he set down a fruit basket. "I hope you recover soon." Then, as if he had just remembered, he added, "Oh right, this is a hereditary disease, isn't it?" He said it almost with a hint of pity, as if truly regretting that my life might end this way. But we both knew, we detested each other. 3 years ago, Austin, unable to withstand his father's persistent coaxing, joined the Bennett family business. Every day he would come home, hold me, and complain about how much he hated Timo, who was always trying to sabotage him. He'd say how much he disliked working, preferring to paint instead. Eventually, he would always conclude with, "Karen, I'm so tired." I would pat his back, lying with him in the gradually darkening living room, listening to the bubbling rice in the kitchen and neighbors chatting in the hallway, with the sunset fading outside the window. I really thought we could live like this forever. Even if it was all an illusion, we could continue this way. I was once thankful to heaven, and incidentally, thankful to Timo. Then one afternoon, Timo called me, saying he needed a small favor. I was reluctant. He mentioned, "Ah, your little sister needs surgery, doesn't she?" "Yes, a surgery with little hope, but necessary nonetheless," he said. "It's just a small thing. I've helped you for 3 years. You can't really refuse to help just this once, can you?" I had to admit, the fleeting warmth I felt was thanks to Timo's grace. I couldn't say no, so I copied that document and sent it to Timo. After all that, I snuggled back into Austin's arms and he embraced me unconsciously. I heard him murmuring in his sleep, "Karen, let's get married." The stars in the night sky must have heard it too, as I whispered my consent. That night, I watched his sleeping face until the dawn's early light made me realize that it was the last day. Timo had given me two choices. One was to stay by Austin's side forever under false pretenses, doing Timo's bidding without limit. The other was to tell Austin everything, to confess that I had been deceiving him for 1,000 days straight. Either Austin would lose all competitiveness and be completely kicked out of the Bennett family business, or he would be abandoned again. Regardless of the choice, both were dead ends. It dawned on me that Timo had orchestrated such a grand scheme, breathing life into it only to let it turn into a stalemate. I couldn't choose, but I had to. Then I saw Austin's tears, falling one by one, scalding my heart so much that I couldn't speak. "Is everything fake?" Austin asked, pointing to the home we had set up together. "Is all of it fake? The warm yellow curtains, the tasseled lamp, the bright murals, the portraits in the studio, and the person standing before me, was everything fake?" I felt as if I stood at a crossroads in life, each path shrouded in dark stormy clouds, each cloud foreboding doom and whispering, "There's no such thing as a free lunch." With a heavy heart, I admitted yes, everything was fake. From that day on, my world split into two. The best part of my soul stayed in that day forever, and every day thereafter, I was a fragment of myself. For the next 2 years, I moved out of our home. And Austin struggled in the Bennett family business. I helped him as best as I could, gritting my teeth through unfamiliar tasks, sincerely repaying my debt until today. Timo didn't stay long. He fiddled with the ring on his finger and said, "I won't invite you to the wedding. Take good care of your health." He straightened his clothes before standing up and adding, "Don't die too soon, my dear brother. I still need you." Timo, I couldn't help but ask, "Austin is innocent. Why do you treat him this way?" It wasn't Austin's fault, no matter whose it was. Timo laughed as he bent down to pluck a statusy flower that Austin had placed by my bed. Who knows? I labeled Timo a psychopath in my mind. Rooms that had Timo's presence felt ominous. I opened the windows to let in some fresh air and wandered out to the yard to clear my mind. As I walked, I ended up in a familiar room, bitterly smiling at how terrifying muscle memory can be. Just as I turned to leave, a cry echoed beside me, "My child, my poor child." I couldn't help but stop and look into the hospital room, the white sheets, the powerless hands hanging down, and a woman kneeling by the bed, beating her chest and weeping. This scene struck me instantly. Gripping my heart tightly, it felt as though I was back in that winter when my younger sister, using all her strength, patted my arm and said, "Sis, don't be afraid." The next second, she closed her eyes to meet our long-lost relatives, leaving me alone in this world, just me alone. "Ah, why did you wander off again?" I turned around, bewildered, to see an angel in white at the end of the hallway, frowning deeply. I forced a smile and said, "Just clearing my mind." We walked back side by side. "It's almost the anniversary of your younger sister's passing, isn't it?" I remarked as I watched the snow begin to fall outside the window. I chuckled, "I won't visit her. It won't be long before we meet again anyway." Nurse Jane slapped my hand lightly and began to look displeased. "Your sister held on for so long. Why can't you?" "Because it's all destined," I replied. "There's no point in persisting when we can already see the end. Better a short pain than a long one, this time." Nurse Jane didn't get angry. She stood lightly to the side, watching as a man still cold from outside came over to take my hand. As we turned, I even saw her waving at me. That clever trickster. Austin tucked me into the covers and then sat on the bed to deal with work matters. I looked at his profile and thought about how Timo had ruined him in every way. "Have you eaten?" I asked if he'd like to join me for a meal, and he agreed. We ate in silence, unable to get over the emotional barrier. The atmosphere still awkward. "Karen, you need to live, to pay back what you owe me," Austin muttered without looking up. That moment, my nose tingled. Snow continued to fall outside the window, as if to take away all pretense, leaving everything pure and clean. If I could turn back time, I would choose to go back to before we met. It would be better to have been just strangers who passed by each other. At night, Austin slept on a small bed beside mine, restless as if plagued by nightmares. I moved closer to listen as he muttered, "Karen, don't leave me." I then realized I was the source of Austin's nightmares. How did we get to this day? I can't stop the wheels of fate, but I can help Austin. Still trapped in his nightmares, I touched his face and gently patted his back, whispering, "Austin, don't be scared." A pat to reassure, a pat to ward off fear. I don't know how much time passed, but when the person beneath me stopped trembling, I looked up and met Austin's gaze. "Karen, I dreamt you died." My nose tingled again, and I dared not tell him that it wasn't just a dream, but likely a soon-to-be reality. He stroked my hair and said, "Never mind, keep lying to me." He shifted to make room, and I climbed onto the small bed, his chin resting on my forehead. We cuddled together on the bed, just like the nights 3 years ago. "Karen," Austin's voice was soft in the night. He repeated the words he had said 3 years earlier, "Marry me." Tears fell in an instant. I faced a difficult choice again, between sweetness and poison, both stuck on the same cookie, each choice a bitter fruit. Austin's greatest fear was abandonment, and yet I was destined to leave him. The only difference was whether now or later. That was it. I recalled the ring Timo had shown before he left, and his words, "What can Austin compete with me now?" Timo had married into the David family to boost his career. While Austin had honorably called off an arranged marriage with the Zara family, if this was a war, Austin was doomed to lose from the moment he met me. A deep ache spread through me as I curled up in Austin's arms, feeling his heartbeat. I watched him pull out the ring from 3 years ago and slide it onto my finger. He said, "Karen, make sure to hold on tight this time." I couldn't say a word, only feeling like the diamond was a snowflake that had drifted down from the sky, pure and white. In the days that followed, life seemed to fast forward. Austin was constantly running between the hospital and the office, his eyes growing darker with fatigue. He was incredibly busy. Most of the time, he just held me, gently pressing against my ribs, then instructing his assistant to ensure I finished bowl after bowl of nourishing soup. I threw it all up, but never let him see. Austin moved his easel to my hospital room, insisting on painting my portrait. But he was really too busy to finish it. I laughed and told him I felt healthy enough to be discharged immediately, sleeping more and more when he wasn't around. But I had a friend, Nurse Jane, who might ask to wake me before he arrived. We had an understanding and never made a mistake. When the first shoots broke through the soil, Timo called me again. "The old man has given my good brother an ultimatum, to marry Zara. What do you think? Will he agree?" I hung up expressionlessly. Austin came very late that day, a faint smell of smoke clinging to him. Observing him closely, I realized how much Austin had changed over the years. He used to embrace me when he got home and say how tired he was. Now, he would finish smoking a cigarette outside before coming back to me to ask if I had eaten. Quietly sitting up, I pulled on his little finger. "Austin, can we just run away?" I asked about eloping with him to a place where no one knew us. Austin sighed and wrapped me in thick clothes, sneaking out the door. He asked where I wanted to go. I said I wanted to go home, back to Suntown. Austin refused and took us back to our home instead. As the door opened, so did the memories that had been sealed away. "Karen, let's get a cat," he had pleaded earnestly that year, and now at the door sat the little orange cat I had casually pointed to back then. "Adopt this one, it looks soft." Now I finally felt it, and it really was very soft. The cat, affectionate and nuzzling against my palm, was the one I had never seen but Austin had brought home. Austin rolled up his sleeves and cooked dinner, then silently patted my back as I threw up all the food. I leaned against him, playing with his fingers. "We'll go back first thing tomorrow," Austin commanded coldly. I pursed my lips and smiled before saying, "Little adult, playing grown-up." Austin was 3 years younger than me. I had almost forgotten. "Karen, let's go for the surgery," Austin said gently, caressing my hand affectionately. "Aren't you going to marry Zara?" I changed the subject. I never thought about marrying her. It was my dad who agreed, not me. Austin responded firmly, not playing along with my diversion, "But I kind of hope you would marry her." During my hospital days, there were always visitors in my ward, including the unpredictable Timo and Zara, whom I had met before. When I opened my eyes and saw Zara, I thought to myself, she's always crying, tears streaming down continuously, and I am most afraid of women's tears. She probably still blames me, resents me, the very cause of ruining her engagement party. Her first words to me were, "Why aren't you dead yet?" I felt like I had slept for a long time, so long that it had turned dark outside the window. I vaguely responded, "Because the weather is bad." The rainy days seemed endless, and I wondered if there were umbrellas on the road to the underworld. I would rather choose a good day, ideally when spring is in bloom, and my family could be there on the road. She continued, "I'm begging you, don't drag Austin down anymore, okay? The Bennett family business was always meant to be his. He should take it back, but because of you, because of your unclear obligation to Timo, he keeps yielding." Over and over, I slowly realized, so Austin knew, only I can help him. "I truly can," she said, "consider it for his sake." What she said made sense to me, so, late at night, nestled in Austin's arms, I asked him if he wanted to marry Zara. Austin's face turned ashen. "Karen, think about something useful for once." I said I couldn't. "The illness is in my brain, and moving might hasten my death." Austin was so furious he nearly passed out. He was about to send me back to the hospital right away. I said no, it really wasn't possible. No one's wedding night should be spent in a hospital, not even someone who's dying. I touched the ring on my finger and thought to myself, this will do, having this night, even if it's just for a day. We were husband and wife. The proposal I never accepted back then, I accept now, even if Austin didn't hear it. I know. And that's enough. I will take this secret with me to the underworld. Austin will live peacefully and happily in this world. After returning to the hospital, my waking hours grew shorter. Sometimes when I opened my eyes, I would see Nurse Jane with red eyes. Have you been calling me for a long time? She smiled and shook her head no. But as she spoke, tears almost fell, and I could easily tell she was lying. One day, when Austin wasn't there, I asked Nurse Jane to print a large copy of a photo for me. After a long, eerie silence, she finally said, "It's not time yet, not yet." I smiled. "I know, I just think it's a beautiful picture." The photo of me standing in front of the snowy mountains in winter, the scene I most wanted to capture forever. It would make the perfect image for my memorial. The next time I woke up, Austin stood before me with a grim expression, and I faced a choice: undergo a hopeless surgery or wait for death. I chose the latter, Austin the former. "Even if there's only a 1% chance, I want to try," he said. "I've tried before," I thought silently. "I had also tried once before, and then God took my only sister away. I won't do it, Austin. It makes no difference other than more pain," I said, pleading not to be taken to the surgery table. "I can't bear any more suffering." Austin has been staying by my side more frequently. Barely daring to sleep, I noticed how gaunt he had become. One day, I woke up and he wasn't guarding my bedside. I told the nurse next to me, "It's peaceful today." She smiled but still reminded me to rest more. Looking at the door, I suddenly realized that I had nothing left to do. My daily routine was just to lie here, waiting for Austin. Apart from him, there was nothing else I felt attached to. I was awakened by someone who had been drinking. Someone who seemed unable to control themselves and shook me awake. Staggering, he looked at me and said, "Karen, I hate you." One of my life's principles is never to argue with a drunk, so I patted his hand and said, "As you should." Indeed, he should. Austin has every right to hate me. I have done right by my late parents, by my little sister who held on until her last moment on her sickbed, and even by Timo, who was kind to me. The only person I wronged was Austin. He should hate me. But when the hater sheds tears, the hatred seems trivial. He reached out his hand, his eyes brimming with tears, and I laid my face in his palm, immobilizing him. "Karen, I have no relatives left. Don't leave me." I sat up and hugged the little drunk. I thought, since I've lied to him so many times, one more wouldn't matter. "Austin, I will always be by your side, in any form, staying by your side." Austin's tears fell on the side of my neck, his hot tears burning my soul. "Karen," he called out, word by word, "you promised me, no going back." I've promised him too many things. To love him forever, never to abandon him. I haven't kept a single one. "Karen, I can give up anything. Whatever Timo wants, I will give. I have nothing left to desire. Can we turn back time by 2 years?" He said he regretted the resentment of these 2 years. He said he wanted to give everything to Timo, in exchange for me, who could not stay by his side. He said he really couldn't lose me. "Karen, don't leave me, please. Don't leave me." Finally, he repeated the same words he said 2 years ago. "You promised me you would never leave me." My tears also began to fall. At this moment, I felt that there must be divine beings above us, and liars must face retribution. This was my retribution. "I am a liar, Austin. I've been lying to you. But one lie leads to another, and there is no turning back. Just believe me, Austin. Believe that everything, absolutely everything, was a lie. Have you never loved me?" Austin sat up, looking into my eyes. Determined to seek the answer to this question, I met his gaze, as intense and persistent as it was 2 years ago. The spring outings, the summer kisses on the green lawns, the autumn leaf collecting, the winter snowman building. Never. I was reminded again of the time long ago when I lost several relatives in succession. Daisy came to comfort me. Clumsily, she climbed up to the rooftop and hugged me, saying, "Karen, it's okay to cry," holding her equally frail shoulders. I burst into tears and said, "I hate them. Why couldn't they be less likable? Why did they have to be so good, so loving, making it so hard for me to accept their departure?" That day, I told myself that if I were ever to leave this world, I hoped no one would love me. Turning to Austin, I wiped away his tears and whispered, "Never." It seemed like he smiled faintly, his voice ethereal in the darkness. "Liar," he said, "just go through with the surgery." He buried his head and said, "Even if you don't love me, can you stay in this world a bit longer?" He squeezed my hand. "I can't bear to let you go." It was him who couldn't bear it. so I said, all right, I'll agree to it. Austin believed me. Seemingly trusting me no matter how many times I deceived him, easily believing me. During the day, I again suggested going back to Suntown, but Austin refused, citing the upcoming surgery. I stepped back and expressed a desire to see an old friend instead. Austin agreed and quickly found Daisy's contact for me. Holding it, I hesitated to make the call. How was she now? Had she changed? Was she doing well? Would I be disturbing her? I called anyway. Fearing there would be no one at my funeral otherwise, I said, I want to go home. Daisy said she would visit me. I was happy, even knowing it was a promise hard to fulfill. Austin sat beside me, smiling. Once the surgery is successful, you can go see her. It's been a long time, hasn't it? I touched his face. Austin, you've lost a lot of weight. I still felt sorry for Austin. I was about to have surgery. And yet he was the one who couldn't eat or sleep well. One day, as I waited for him in a wheelchair, I saw him cry. The hospital walls had witnessed too many of his tears. Austin was always crying, so I cried too. As the surgery approached, fearing I might not see the sun the next day, I craved something sweet. I want a small cake, preferably made by Aunt Linda from Suntown. Hers are the tastiest. Austin still comforted me, saying I could eat it once I was better. I shook my head. Do you know why my dad wouldn't let me eat cakes from Aunt Linda's? Because he wanted me to understand the bitterness of life, to cherish its sweetness more. I looked at him, but I've rarely tasted the sweetness in life. I said, just buy it for me, don't let this small wish become my last. I really thought I could wait, and just before lying down, I reminded him to hurry back. He said okay, then the machines above started shrieking, signaling something wrong with my body, saying it was my time to go, right then and there. I called a good friend to ask if my memorial photo was ready. She too was constantly in tears, but she sat beside me and seriously told me it was ready. I looked at it and felt very satisfied. I said, if I don't make it, tell Austin that my tombstone should say, no one is allowed to cry. I gazed out the window at the tender green branches fluttering in the wind and the room filled with the scent of flowers. It was a beautiful day. I was pleased with the weather but less so with my friends shedding tears. I comforted her. Don't worry, all my loved ones are in heaven, and they will come for me. She seemed reassured by my words, and said, do look out for a little girl who loved roses. She was a dear friend of mine too. I patted her hand, promising I would look for her. What was her name? Helen. Nurse Jane was crying bitterly. She said, yes. She was a chatterbox just like you, always so witty. I laughed. Got it. Remember to visit me in my dreams. Just say hi. I smiled with my eyes closed. I won't, my good friend. A real scaredy cat and a crybaby. That girl probably felt the same, so she wouldn't visit, and neither would I said. Stay safe now. My wish for everyone was always to be safe and sound, and ideally never to fall ill. I said, Jane, I won't be able to see Austin again, nor would I be able to enjoy my little cakes. She patted my shoulder and reassured me. Karen, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I struggled to open my eyes, looking towards the door, waiting for one last person I hoped to see. I clenched my teeth, afraid to admit my fear. Jane hurried out, leaving me feeling abandoned by the world, truly scared. After what felt like an eternity, she rushed back. Karen, just wait a bit longer, just a bit longer. My thoughts were a mess, but I remembered to nod. Karen, don't be scared. Hold this pink rose. When Helen sees it, she will come for you. She's a good girl. Jane's tears fell on the back of my hand, but I had no strength to lift my hand to tell her not to cry. I gripped the rose tightly in my left hand, knowing that holding the pink rose would bring the good girl to me. I looked up at the statusy flowers on my bedside. Jane quickly picked one and placed it in my hand. Austin had brought me one every day, and I wanted to take one with me. If I saw my family, I would tell them that Karen received a lot of love during her time on Earth. As I watched and waited, unsure how much time had passed, I finally saw Austin's figure rushing towards me from the doorway. I breathed a sigh of relief. I had waited after all. Austin, what should I do? I still lied to you. I closed my eyes, and it felt as though my soul departed then, with a sea of flowers in the distance. Yet Austin's voice was still in my ears, desperate as if fighting against fate. Karen, 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 don't go. Our cat hasn't grown up yet. Ah. That little orange kitten, still just a tiny ball. I'll take you to experience spring outdoors. to paint from life, to make specimens. I've done all those things already. Every day spent with you, I've been very happy, but I haven't finished painting your portrait yet. We already have so many. Austin, Karen, don't leave me. I can't, Austin, I can't do that. At the end of the sea of flowers, someone is calling me, like they're my family. I've also promised Jane to look after her good friend. I have to go, Austin, don't be too sad. The debts I owe you, I'll repay in the next life. If there is one, it's just a pity, I never got to eat those little cakes. Austin's side story. Holding the small cake in my hands, I gazed at the person on the hospital bed, my tears finally running dry, unsure of what I should do next. What could I even do? It wasn't until the nurse covered her with a white sheet that a part of me began to awaken. Silently screaming not to take her away, not to take away the one I loved. If she must go, then take me too. Nurse Jane said she didn't want to see anyone crying by her bedside, so even that small right was stripped from me. I watched mechanically as she left this world, as she turned to ashes in my hands. Just a little longer, she would have listened to me, gone through with the surgery, just a little longer, and we might have had that 1% chance. Now, there's nothing left. She left me here, alone in this world. I took her back home, back to Suntown, a place she always wanted to visit when she was unwell, which I always refused because she couldn't handle the journey anymore. I wanted her to stay longer. I truly couldn't bear to let her go, but she had to leave, and it seems from the moment we met, we were destined to part. I stayed in Suntown for a few days, climbed the mountains she loved, sat on the rooftop of her house watching the night sky, wondering what she thought about while sitting here every day. I always regretted not forgiving her immediately, even though she lied to me. It was because Timo appeared, not me, and only Timo could help her. I began to resent fate for not letting me be there before Timo. I'm sure I would have done a better job. I buried her next to her family. Thought about reserving a spot for myself beside her, but feared she might be upset, so I left it. A month later, Timo showed up at my door. If you need, I can find someone who looks like her to stay by your side. I looked up at him, feeling disgusted for the first time. Why don't you hate your father? I suddenly realized that without me, they would have been a happy family. I was the extra, the one he targeted in every way. The inheritance my mother left me, none of you can take away. It wasn't just the company she left me, it was something they couldn't touch. Timo's face changed, panic setting in. Coveting what belongs to others will leave you with nothing, I said coldly, standing up to apologize to her. Who? Timo seemed confused, so I struck him hard across the face. For Karen, she wasn't something that could just be replaced. I would never need an imitation of her. She said she'd be by my side, so she would hear it, and I didn't want her to be unhappy. I opened a general store on a street corner, placing my most cherished portrait in the window. The girl in the painting had beautiful, untroubled eyes, as if she had never suffered. She was reaching out her hand, waiting for someone to take it. That was the person I had once forgotten, the one I loved deeply, holding a small orange cat. I waited every day at the store for kind-hearted people willing to cherish things once treasured by others, waiting for those who will never return. But during their brief stops, they would know, she was my precious treasure. That's all about this story. Do you have any insights after watching the above story? Feel free to tell us in the comment sections below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe my channel please. See you next time.